Let's talk a little bit about, first of all, what is happening to the Supreme Court justices in front of their homes. Mike, that's clearly illegal, is it not?
Yes, it is. It violates a Virginia statute. It also quite arguably violates a federal statute, 18 U.S.C. Section 1503, I think it is, that would seem to suggest that this is unlawful. But more than anything, Glenn, this is just really creepy. It carries with it an implicit threat of violence because it says to the occupants of the home where they're protesting, we know where you sleep.
Correct.
It's the only purpose it serves. And that has no place in society. You know, I actually dealt with it. First time I ever dealt with this, I was 11 years old. My father, who was serving as President Reagan's Solicitor General at the time, filed a brief in a case, and it dealt with an issue related to abortion, related to Roe versus Wade. The abortion rights movement didn't like it, so they protested in front of our home. I was the only one home at the time. Actually, my older sister Wendy was there, but she was asleep the entire time. She slept long. So I went out and talked to them. You know, the movie Home Alone hadn't come out yet. It wouldn't come out for another 20 years. But when I saw that movie many years later, I thought, I know how that kid feels. I started thinking, what do? Do I break out the illegal fireworks stash that I had from where my cousins bought on the Indian reservation the summer before? Do I turn on the sprinklers? It occurred to me if I did any of those things, news crews would show up. That would be bad. So I just went out and talked to them instead. And the very first thing the lady said to me, there's a lady who appeared to be in charge of all of them. We'll call her Karen. And Karen said to me, well, hello, little boy, we're not here to hurt you. That's creepy. And it's creepy anytime you protest in front of the home of a public official.
Right.
That's what's wrong with it.
And I'm wondering if that would even be said today. A lot of these protesters, I mean, it's vile what's going on. Just as it was vile on January 6th. That was a mob. And not everybody, but the ones that really kind of broke down the door, et cetera, those people were in a mob mentality and just vile. So, Mike, yesterday, without anybody condemning these people and saying it has to stop, the Senate voted to pass a bill to provide security services to the Supreme Court justices and their families, and it was a unanimous vote.
Yes.
How can somebody on the left say that this isn't violent and yet vote unanimously to provide security?
Well, if one of them were on the show with us, and I'm sure all the lefties come on your show constantly.
All the time.
So you could probably provide the answer. I'm sure they would say, look, the potential is there. We want to make sure that they have safety when they need it. But look, there's no reason for them to not condemn this. There's no reason for them to not call it off. It is inappropriate. I have yet to have this conversation with any of my colleagues, Republican, Democrat, otherwise, in which they will disagree with the suggestion it's inappropriate to show up to someone's home to protest. It's not appropriate. I don't know why it is they can't find the moral courage to express publicly what I think all of them believe privately, which is that is unacceptable.
That was the problem with January 6th for many of us. We were like, where is Donald Trump? Why isn't he stepping up to the plate right now and saying this is horrible? Stop it right now. Let me ask you, there's a bill now going through and at the Senate, and it's to codify Roe. Can you explain what's going on here? Yeah.
There's a bill moving through the Senate, and they want to codify Roe, but it's Roe on steroids. It's worse than Roe, far worse. It basically says that no state can have any law restricting abortion in any way and guarantees abortion right up until the moment of birth without any restriction by any other law. And so this is a very radical proposal. This is substantially farther to the left than what you'll see from any ordinary American. Americans understand that regardless of how they feel about abortion more broadly, they understand that the closer you get to birth, the closer you get to the point where a baby could clearly survive outside the womb, nearly all Americans support some restrictions on abortion, but they want to get rid of even those.
This act is intended to protect all people with the capacity for pregnancy: cisgender women, transgender men, non-binary individuals, those who identify with a different gender, and others who are unjustly harmed by restrictions on abortion services. Mike, I got to believe if I were running for the Senate and I was kind of in a purple state, I would be really upset at the Democratic leadership if I'm running as a Democrat.
Yeah, and why wouldn't you be? But look, they're trying to impress a certain radical fringe element of their own base, and this is where they're going to do it. The next step they're going to do is they're going to try to pack the Supreme Court, or hashtag expand the court, as many of my liberal colleagues are now using that hashtag. They want to add justices to the Supreme Court of the United States, which is itself a huge mistake. All these things are designed to delegitimize, denigrate, and isolate those Supreme Court justices inclined to vote for Justice Alito's masterfully written majority opinion.
Mike, you were part of the crew that you were a leader in the crew to find these Supreme Court justices. They're saying now that it looks like this is going to be the filing ruling. Do you believe that?
Yes, I do believe that. And I also believe that the reason these people are freaking out so much is that they're afraid of the same thing. And so that's why I think if this does, in fact, happen, the pivot will happen very, very quickly, and they'll move on to saying this is an illegitimate court, so we're going to have to change it. We haven't seen this since 1937. It's why I started seeing this coming about a year and a half ago. That's why I started writing the book that comes out June 7th, available for pre-order now, called Saving Nine. Saving Nine explains what happened last time they did this, how we stop it, and why it's such a horrible idea.
It is a book that is right on time, called Saving Nine, and very good. Mike, the bill that they are trying to pass, let's just live in fantasy land. We say that it passes, okay? Isn't that still what the Supreme Court was saying shouldn't be done, that it should go to the states? It's not a federal issue?
Yes. So the Supreme Court draft majority opinion written by Justice Alito said that these are the sorts of decisions that ought to be made by the people's elected lawmakers, and not by 9 lawyers wearing robes on the Supreme Court of the United States, for the simple reason that there's nothing in the Constitution that makes this something that the courts decide, nothing in the Constitution that even makes this federal rather than state. Now, there are some places for federal law to weigh in on most areas, but most laws, most of the time, that affect most of your day-to-day life are state laws, not federal laws. So it follows logically that given that there's nothing in the Constitution making abortion distinctly a federal issue, most laws dealing with abortion should be handled at the state level.
Does that include if New York or California includes, partial birth abortion or after birth abortion, which is now strangely being talked about in those states? Does the federal government have a role in stopping any of that?
Depending on how far Congress wanted to push the envelope, Congress could try to assert more authority in that area. My personal view is that this is one of those areas that really is perfect for the Constitution, for the constitutional principle of federalism. Because look, there isn't a lot of national unity, national consensus on this issue.
Right.
People in Utah would decide this very differently than the people of New York, and people in Mississippi very differently than those in the state of Oregon. And, sometimes that is part of the constitutional compromise. That's part of who we are. That is the compromise.
Right.
Is that we allow people to govern themselves differently according to local preferences.
Well, Mike, I want to thank you for all the work that you did with Donald Trump and Ted Cruz to get these guys on the Supreme Court and women as well. It's because of, I think, your work that we have these people. And I am hoping that when we get a Republican in office, that you are appointed to the Supreme Court, because I think you would make a tremendous Supreme Court justice. Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you very much, Glenn.
You bet.